The time is 7:32 a.m. We'll now call the special public meeting of the Board of Trustees of Humboldt Independent School District to order. First item is public comment. Board encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so following the procedure outlined on the agenda. The board asks that comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 3 minutes. Remember, the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for this morning's meeting. It's all right. If an issue mentioned is listed on this morning's agenda, the board will defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. Okay, we will start. First on the list, Ms. Cintron. Mr. Willing, if you wouldn't mind, you want to head up and you could be ready.
Got too many little apparatuses here. Okay, good morning. I'm a graduate of Kingwood High School, a mother of 3 who have either attended or are attending school in this district, and this is the 3rd time to speak this year. I don't even know where to begin. Vaping, it seems it's such a small item now, but I'm sure it's a welcome diversion. Vaping is bad, vaping is toxic and highly addictive. It can cause asthma, lung scarring, organ damage, mouth issues due to dry mouth. THC can be used in a vape. I think we are all aware of vaping. What we are not aware is your plan to stop it from being a school activity. I've even heard it's in elementary schools. While you have been busy suing each other, interviewing for positions, intimidating the board and community, and protecting your own self-interest, you couldn't figure out a solution. Every kid knows that what bathroom is used for vaping, just as they can tell you if it's clean, if they're having sex in there. Just ask the kids. KHS, back bathroom by the small gym and the pool. Always filled with vapor, trash, and location for sex. Also smells a lot like pot, so my child tells me. She won't even use the bathroom at school, so maybe vaping is not your only problem. A solution, vape, THC detectors, and hall monitors would be the way to start. With $500,000 to $600,000 wasted on legal firms, an exit package of 425 plus for a superintendent's husband, plus whatever lawsuits that are waiting to see the light of day, we know that they are there, people. We're not stupid. How much more are we going to waste this district's money? Right now, foolishness, immaturity, lack of leadership skills, and bad decision-making is front and center. It has embarrassed this community. It has cost this school district. I suggest those wanting to have kept this silent should rethink, because CPS would have removed kids from homes with less abuse and harassment that went on in that athletic department. If you're a leader in a department, you set the example. You set the tone. No excuses. Hanging on to past accomplishments while everything burning around you is no way to set the example and no way to lead. So with that, I do ask for somebody's resignation. As the dollar amount is rising, our superintendent was out interviewing for positions. She's already left this community. So I'll end this with a few pieces of advice from an 80-year-old I heard on Facebook this morning. I'm trying to make this happier. Give people a second chance, but not a third. Choose your life's mate carefully. From this one decision will come 90% of your happiness or misery. Be modest. A lot was accomplished before you were born. Be aware of the person who has nothing to lose. Be someone's hero. Count your blessings. Remember that 80% of success is any job is based on the ability to get along with people. Don't expect life to be fair.
Thank you. Mr. Willing?
Good morning. Since the beginning of time, kids have been doing things that they shouldn't. We all here certainly did. There were smokers in both the private and public high schools that I attended. Smokers in the auditorium and gym bathrooms, in the back of the parking lot, the theater lofts. I myself smoked for 25 years before switching to vaping in the hopes of one day quitting altogether. Here I am 4 years later. We knew it was bad back then, just like today, but we did it anyway. The more we became aware of what we were doing, however, the less we did. Awareness is really the best tool we have to let kids know how bad vaping is. The same facts from when we were young remain today. It's harmful, it's addictive, it's bad for your heart and lungs. And the new generation is going to go through this just like the last one did. The National Institute of Health says the most common factors leading to vaping are stress relief and peer pressure. Researchers at the University of Dallas found that younger adults are less successful at regulating desires when others around them are enacting those desires. Similarly, older people also face a new set of priorities that might make it more difficult to resist such influences, especially as they observe their peers partaking. Locker room talk, anyone? Author and Professor Matthew Dick said, leaders who transfer stress onto their subordinates are ultimately damaging to the people and organizations they lead. That not only is the transfer of stress onto others counterproductive, it will result in their direct reports transferring that same stress, plus their own, onto the lowest members of the organization feeling the most stress. The board's backroom collusion, infighting, and victim shaming have contributed towards the increased stress level and peer pressure of the district as a whole. I ask each of you to think about that. Consider how what you do and what you allow to happen affects everyone around you, even the kids. If not, how can we trust you that you have any understanding of things like negative effect reduction and behavioral economics framework, or care to have any? Again, this board's recent past makes it hard to believe that you are looking to health experts on this issue when trustees on this board this year sought to end plans for a free student health clinic and tried to unjustly end the contract of a clinical psychologist that we are still lucky to have. Or better yet, maybe you aren't. Maybe this is just another faux crusade you have set out on to save face or something. How can you possibly be honest in your attempt to do some good when your recent history has been so dishonest? Author and Rabbi Harold Kushner basically said, there is no right way to do the wrong thing. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you. Next we have Edie Marone. And the other speaker we have on the list is Ms. Deaver. Would you mind, if she's here, would you mind walking over? Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning. I do not come here today to waste your time or mine. I'm a former parent in ISD and a former teacher of Humboldt ISD. When I retired at the end of May 2021, I exited with many concerns of school safety. Sending your child to school each day, knowing that they are in a safe environment, is a must for our school district. I wanted to speak about vaping in the restrooms. It has become a very big concern in our schools. There's also bullying and fighting that goes on. It's almost like a street gang on the corner of New York City. If you go to the wrong restroom, AKA their gang restroom, their vaping restroom, you are in serious trouble. There are kids who roam the halls of the buildings without IDs, no attendance requirements, so often we do not know who these students are, when they have arrived at our building, and when they even leave our buildings, and the backbone of all this bad behavior is there are no consequences for it. And that is not only mind-blowing, but disturbing to say the least. Your staff, from police to teachers to admin to custodial staff, are only as good as their leadership, and that should tell you everything you need to know. When a student quote says, I will not give you my vape, I will not give you my phone, I will not listen to you, don't tell me what to do, and the list goes on and on about the I will nots, that tells you the students are running the school and they know it. Are we going to be the school district that was once a powerhouse, and now we shrug our shoulders and we say, I can't believe that just happened? School districts are not to be run like homes. Students need structure and they need consistency. They need rules and they need consequences. And we as a district should not waver on this at all. Trust me, as a mother, there was no rule book in my home, and there are times looking back, I enabled behavior that was not good. But as a 30-year veteran high school teacher, it was good to say, that is a rule. I'm not a rule breaker, and if you break that rule, here are the consequences for that rule. And know that your administration stood behind you and administered those consequences. We are a learning institution that should be creating a great learning environment for every student at all times. I believe, or at least I pray, we are all here for the same reasons today, and that is for the children. And if we believe what is going on in the world today is good, we probably should not be in education. We need to reevaluate our why and our purpose. We need to guide, guard, and protect our children the best possible way. It's time to take back our district, to honor our duties as employees, school board members, students, and community members. Let's make Humble ISD the powerhouse it once was. It's time to reevaluate all the vaping, all the safety and security in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stever?
Good morning, and I'll be brief. This is a story of a recent high school graduate. Imagine this, you're a high school girl walking to the bathroom in between classes, rushed, trying to be quick before class starts, and immediately hit with a wave of burnt plastic as the door opens. The bathrooms here usually have a slight odor, although with bathroom closures, the odor mix is particularly pungent. After waiting in a long line, you must be careful where you step when you finally get into a stall. The floors are typically wet from the toilet leaking, and the toilet paper on the ground is left soaking from the day before. You quickly make your way to wash your hands, but notice the soap dispenser is out of soap. This is expected, as it's been empty since last month. The bell rings, and you're late to class, and you hope your teacher is sympathetic of the long line you waited in. Before you rush out, you notice a group of girls in the corner, clearly careless of whether they're going to class or not. They're surrounded by a cloud of vapor, and you roll your eyes. Your wet paper towel that you use to dry off your water-rinsed hands adds to the mounted pile of trash waiting to spill everywhere. You quickly walk out, eager to be freed of the overused bathroom smell, along with the vapor that just was blown in your face. When you walk out, you notice multiple APs roaming the halls and wonder how they can't smell the vapor from the bathroom. At this point, you're late to class and don't have time or the energy to report the girls to the AP, nor is it the kid's job to do that. And you don't want to be a snitch. After experiencing the same bathroom situation daily, your excitement for summer and for graduation only increases, as if long hours and school dedication wasn't enough. That was an actual testimony of a recent high school graduate again. I realize this district leadership is consumed with many things besides what we all know is the most important, educating children and keeping them safe while they learn. Today, I'm excited to hear how the district plans to clean up the schools and rid the bathrooms, halls, classrooms, and locker rooms of minors breaking the law by vaping. Please help me understand why the district wavered out of House Bill 114, known as the mandatory vaping law. I'm asking because I honestly don't know. If today's presentation don't already address HB 114, I'd like presenters to please add that to today's discussion items. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and with that, and thank you for all those very enlightening comments and passionate comments. Appreciate that very much from those who spoke. And before we go on, I just want to, Mr. Holmes is online. Mr. Holmes, can you hear? We're okay? The transmission is fine for you?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I hear you great.
Okay,
Thank
if you have a question, try to get somebody's attention. If I don't see you, waving your hand or, okay? And there you guys help me out. And Mr. Rush, can you hear everything is,
Yes.
can you say it again?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, okay, great.
Great.
All right. I know we had some trouble a couple months back. Okay, well, with that, Dr. Lee, I will turn the floor over to you. And we also, for the board here, we have a number of principals that are in the audience, and as they said to me, they're available also for questions that you may have regarding what we discuss.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good morning, I'm Melissa Lee, Senior Director of Personalized Student Success.
I'm Ty Hobbs, Director of Personalized Counseling.
And we're going to introduce you, as you mentioned, Mr. Scarfo, to a bunch of people who are here today that have gotten together as a district to try to see what we can do to bring awareness, prevention, and intervention to the vaping problem that not only is in Humble ISD, but is across the nation right now. The Counseling and Behavior Services team has been a big part of this. Our principals and campus administrators have been a huge part of this. We've also worked very closely with several student organizations, our health science teachers, our HOSA student organizations. Coach Helen Wagner has worked with them, as well as our student advisory. We've tried to really bring in as many people in this conversation to affect the change that we're hoping to see happen. So today I'd like to take a moment to introduce the ones who will be presenting today to you and going through what we have put together since last summer and this year that we're implementing, again, to try to bring prevention, awareness, intervention, and counseling to the addiction problem that exists. We have Amber Williams, one of our secondary behavior specialists. We have Kim Hopkins, our substance abuse counselor, Chris Ybarra, our other secondary behavior specialist, and Chastity Irvin is our secondary coordinator. So they're going to come up and present a little more about anti-vaping here to you. Well, it was working, Rusty. There we go.
There you go.
I'm going to try that. Got to use that. Okay. So that was the team that's presenting, and I'm going to let them start off with the presentation. Yeah, no, it's your portfolio you have is just a compilation of information that we wanted you to have at your disposal. It's not a straight PowerPoint. We will get this to you, and it, of course, will be available online after this. But that's just all of the information, so you have it in one place. Thank you.
So good morning. We're going to first begin with speaking about the evolution of vaping. So vaping has become something that started off originally with our grandparents' era as just cigarettes. So I want to kind of get a little further into it to show you what vaping is becoming now. So on this picture, can anyone identify where the vapes are? Okay. Okay. So, let's see, I want to see if it's going to show you. So here are the actual. So, you got 3. Okay, so here are the actual vapes. So up on the counters, you all have different little bags. So in those bags, each of you have been sitting amongst the vapes. So just kind of go through the bag and tell me where they are. The video wasn't playing when I tried to click it. Yeah, just click it. Okay.
Just stay right here. Just let
Okay. Open, go through it. Yeah. Okay. So each bag contains products that each of the students bring in on a daily. And so the purpose of this is called hidden in plain sight. Everything that you're seeing is what the kids are walking in with on a day-to-day basis. It's created in order for you not to be able to find the vapes. So a few of you have found them and a few of you have not. So inside of the original jars, there are actually sites that call the kids forward and tell them, like, reach out to us and we can provide you with some things that you can hide your vapes in. So inside of the hairbrush that Mr. Scarfo has is a hidden compartment inside of the brush. If you unscrew it, there's a yes. So inside of the Axe bottle, there was some things hidden inside of that. You'll also see some that look like a pen. There are some that are actually hidden in different pieces. The soda can is a hiding compartment in your bag. So no one would know if you're just looking at this and you're walking through. So the kids are able to kind of sneak things in quicker. They're able to hide it in all types of things. So the evolution of the e-cigarettes and the vapes started off originally with the original one looking actually like a cigarette. So over time, they progressed into things that will be more of a marketing piece of it for kids, where kids can walk through and have something hidden inside of their hand. Did you find yours? It's inside of the lip gloss bag. So there's a cart that goes inside of it, and the cart, right, so I'm gonna get into it, so hold on to them. So these are the new looks of them, and they're disguised in order for it to look like something normal as a water enhancer or a USB drive or even an inhaler. So I actually put a real inhaler in there for you to see how realistic some of these vaping devices look. And once they're inside of the schools, the kids are able to move freely because no one is actually zoning in to see this is how small this vape is. So they can discreetly walk around. So these are possible hiding places. And I actually did, I have my backpack as well, which is one of the main key sources to the vaping epidemics, because on this little piece, thank you, on this little piece, what we normally would see as where they charge their phones, this is a charger also for a vaping device. You just plug your vape in really quickly, charge it, and that's how they can continue throughout the day as it's getting lower. You have hoodies that are actually being sold where the collar of the hoodie is a vaping piece. The Sharpies are being modified. Keychains, you have smartwatches that are modified, even cell phone cases where you're able, these are all actions and activities and things that the kids have invested in, and there are actually people who are marketing the kids where they try to hide it and they can still come into the classroom. So some of you still haven't seen all of your vapes that you have on your desk.
So, can I ask you, so the manufacturers, they're making these things?
Specifically for kids, yes.
And none of the, like, the Sharpie thing there, none of that, isn't that illegal? That's
So
they're
what the
doing?
manufacturer just makes the Sharpie, and then you have some companies who come in and their main goal is they create these items. So tell us how many you want, tell us what you want us to modify, and the modifications are $60 to $100 for each one of them. So I've gone around and I've gone into vape shops, and when I ask about them, they'll say, well, I can give you a website. And the kids get the websites, and that's how they go in. And they'll just pay for the modification. And so as they're going, they're just switching out their carts.
So
And-
the loophole here is that they aren't selling the vape product themselves. They're modifying the product to disguise the vape. That's the loophole that they're getting around this on.
Yes.
And then the vape shop sells the vape to put into the modified product. It's essentially a loophole in
So
the
these
laws.
products they can buy online, the
Yes.
cover-up stuff? And I guess they're coming from places like China or whatever? and they're-
Some of them are here. Some of them are locally. Some of the shops will actually just tell them, drop it off to me, give me some time. And when I went in to kind of ask my questions and act like I was interested, they had like a little hesitance. And I was like, I just need to know, and so they were like, well, it's going to cost you, but we can do it. So when asking, are you able to sell? Are you able to do this? They said it's not illegal for them to sell to the kids as long as they're not giving them the actual products. They can sell them all of the objects that they need to create the vapes, but they feel like they're not taking responsibility because they are not actually selling them THC. So they can give them everything that they need.
So they can sell them rolling paper, but not the pot?
Yes. And I was actually in one shop when a couple of kids came in, and as long as they gave them cash, they didn't ask any questions.
Are you going to show them the highlighter site? Because that
Yes.
was the one that, okay.
So most of the kids, the harmful piece of it, just to kind of give you a little background, most kids are feeling, and even adults feel like vaping is not harmful, and it is harmful. It does have cancer-causing chemicals in it. It has heavy metals and different things like that that will affect our health. So, myth, vaping is better than cigarettes. It is not. One pack of cigarettes is 20 cigarettes. One Juul pod, which are locally at the gas stations, is 2 packs of cigarettes. And then as they continue to modify a little cart, which is inside of that little Axe bottle, that's 75 cigarettes. And so in a training that I attended yesterday, they actually have one that the e-bars are actually the equivalent of 38 packs of cigarettes. And these kids are going through these in 3 days because of the flavoring. And this is how the targeting piece of it goes. So originally, e-cigarettes were first brought out to try to get the kids to come forward, and it actually looked like a cigarette. So then Juul came out and said, we're going to do something different. So there are some lawsuits going on with Juul because their target is not for the adults. They wanted to target the middle school kids. So they set up outside of some schools in New York, did some advertising to them to initially hook those kids because middle schoolers, these are our new marketing. This is who we want to lock in. And so once we get them to talk, peer pressure and things like that. So that's how it kind of evolved. And then the flavors came along. The kids like the flavors. They like the smell of it. They think this is strawberry lemonade, so nothing's wrong with this. This is birthday cake. And then social media. So with social media, it's all out. It's showing you do this, replacing this, and it gives them a lot of false information that it's not as harmful as it is. So just to show you a little bit of what the marketing piece of it is. So if you remember, while we were in school, we had crazy art. Turn this down. We had crazy art. So everyone wanted the magic markers. We wanted the colorful things and whatnot. And so what they did was took this crazy art piece, and the goal of it is to catch the student's attention and to link it to something that's familiar. So we still have the Highlight edition that we do in education, but we also had Microsoft come out. So Highlight came out with another product. And this is current. Oh, normally it'll ask you if you're 21 or older. Okay. It'll say if you're
So
21
she's
or
right,
older.
that normally says confirm you're 21. I clicked on it to test the video this morning, which is why it didn't pop up, but all you have to do is click I'm 21.
So once you say that, that's all they need, and it fast forwards and it continues. So the only liability that they take on this is at the top, they have a warning that says nicotine. So it's still the highlighters. It's actually highlighters that you can take in class. They have scents to them. It's very discreet, but the difference is that each of them are vapes. And the kids do not need any parental permission to do it. Once they, like Dr. Lee said, once they click yes to the age 21, then they're able to order these highlighters.
And Kim, do these highlighters work?
Yes.
And the company that owns the highlighter brand hasn't come after these guys in court to stop them from using their image?
From what I recently pulled up on them, they have. And so what Highlight has done has tried to kind of change a few things in their advertisements. But this is basically how much they are, because originally you could get the entire pack for $160. So then they came out with the deals. If you only want to get one, $17.99. So a kid will be like, okay, just one. I'll try it and see what it's like. So it's not expensive at all to them. And so this is somewhat of the the advertisements. So you'll see social media, you see how at the bottom of it, the misleading idea is that it's just fruits, it's just something, nothing major for you. You see the grape, you see the pineapple and the orange, those are all the flavors that the kids are vaping. The sign at the bottom corner is Santa Claus. Kids love Santa. So I don't always vape, but when I do, they tell you which brand to use. And so winding up 1960, you'll see some of the advertisements on the freeway. You'll see them as you're driving all over town where they're advertising for the vapes. You'll even see like the blue at the top of it, they'll show like little giveaways. So this guy here in the top corner, they try to find the teens who have the largest following, and they reach out to them and then they say, hey, endorse this. Send this to this. So all the kids are doing is reaching out to him. So as you can see on here, he's identifying the winners and he's mailing you the vapes directly to your house. So parents aren't aware if your kid is on Instagram and they're signing up for these giveaways, they're not even having to buy it. The goal is just to get you to see a familiar face and something that you want to do. And even the bottom corner where it says everything changes eventually. An old remote control for a video game. And then they have the Juul stick next to it. So even at the top, marketing to kids, don't be ridiculous, but you're creating the flavors and the scents, even the Binky flavor, that kids are going to be drawn to. So of course, he came up with, I did some research to see why teens originally were vaping in 2019, but in May of 2023, the most common thing was there was a friend or a family member. So even as early as elementary, kids will have access to these vapes because there's a friend or family member or sometimes even a parent that's vaping and they're not aware. It's not like a counter that shows you how many puffs have been taken. You vape, you sit it down, and the kid just kind of comes by and picks it up. We go to the gas station right now, you'll see this setup. So next to the candy, next to the chips and cookies and the soda, there's a huge display case of vapes on there. At the top, of course, there is the Jewel Pod game. Everyone there has a vape in their mouth. So it's being promoted that this is something that, you know, is fun for us to do. You got to be in the club, so you have to get a Jewel. And most of the teens that are vaping feel like it's not harmful at all because, again, with marketing, it's telling them that it's okay for you to vape. So here's some intentional marketing to adolescents to find something that is common to them. So the Ready Whip, the Treetop apple juice, the Lucky Charms, Lifesavers, all of these are put into flavors in the e-juice. And so the e-juice basically is what they will have in the vape shops, and that's what they can modify to put the THC in and the nicotine. So once the kids get those little carts, that's what they're dripping. And they're just kind of smoking it. So when it comes to the marketing, it's marketed for children. We're not going around to get Treetop applesauce or apple juice as adults. Alrighty, so our prevention campaign.
So how is Humble ISD bringing awareness to this epidemic that is, has taken over the community and affecting our schools? So what we're doing is to bring awareness. As a department, what we've done is send out newsletters to our campuses each 9 weeks. Information is sent, educational information about vaping is sent to our campuses, to our lead counselors, and then our lead counselors send it out to the community in their newsletters. And that is done every 9 weeks. And then the events that we are putting on is the Community Awareness Nights, which we provided one last year around March, and then again this year in March as well. And we've also had some campuses who have had parent nights for their parents, and they've invited us to come out and speak during those nights as well to provide educational information about vaping. And then last but not least, we've also provided a online vaping awareness night for parents too as well, one in October of 2023, and then one this year on April the 4th of 2024. So those are the community awareness events. Yes, sir.
Did you guys record the awareness night at Atascocita High School?
No,
The Parent U is recorded.
the Parent U, so the one in Atascocita, I don't believe was recorded, but the Parent U that we did virtually which was a lot of the same information and the same speakers that were present.
So the doctor who did the presentation at AHS, you got her recorded, her presentation?
We actually
Dr.
have-
McGee?
We actually had a second doctor to record. Can you share his name, Amber?
Dr. O'Dilly,
Okay.
he is the doctor from Apex Urgent Care.
The only reason I bring it up is she did such a great job.
She
Mrs.
did.
Parker was there as well. I mean, and it wasn't real long. It was about 30 minutes before then she took questions. But boy, she really banged it out. And
And this is something she's very passionate about, so I have
She
no
really
doubt we
is.
could reach out to her and get her to do that recording for us as well.
that'd be great because I think that'd be something great to send out for parents. It's not a real long. Maybe she could even tell her down a little bit.
Sure.
But
But I'd also recommend that you check out Dr. O'Dilly
Okay, I will,
on
yeah,
our
if you could
Parent U
send-
because it was
okay,
recorded.
I will.
And then the awareness that our campuses are doing on their campus is that we provided each campus with posters in which you have there as well. And in correlation to help us with developing those posters, we collaborated with our Superintendent Student Advisory Campus Safety Group. And they provided us with some feedback as to what they thought students would, images that would get students' attention to make them look at those images. So we developed those two posters there that all campuses have on their campus on the secondary level. In addition to that, during March as well, the third week of March is our Vaping Awareness Week. So we take that week and campuses are able to do different activities on their campus to bring awareness to vaping as well. And then we also partner with our superintendent student advisory. Each 1 month, 1 day out of the month, we meet with them and they come up with different ideas that they can promote on their campus to bring awareness. And so they go back to their campus, talk to their associate principal, and they tell them their ideas, and then the campus goes forth with the ideas the students have brought forth to them. We also have an awareness curriculum that we developed too as well for all students, for upper elementary and middle school and high school. So for upper elementary, it's 2 lessons that the students that the campuses utilize, and then for high school and middle school, there are 4 lessons. The campus has the autonomy to use those lessons and however they decide to use them. It doesn't have to be used in a certain order. It's there to bring awareness for all students. And then we've also provided the campus with resources as well. So vaping resources of different presenters that will come out to the campus, that will provide presentations for any of their assemblies that they have. And we also have Texas Say What, which is a company that through Texas State that provides different vaping awareness little items that the campus can pass out to kids on their campus too as well. And then we also provide professional development training for staff and APs and principals too. And here are some pictures from our Vaping Awareness Night and one of our campuses that was doing their Vaping Awareness Week activities. And we have some of our student advisory students there up in the top corner left that are representing their schools at the event and promoting vaping awareness items there. And then here are some more pictures as well. We had exhibits for kids to see how the vapes affect the lungs. Different doctors were there. We had a nice list of vendors at this event.
That was very disturbing, by the way, that Helen had whip out the lung thing and blowing it up, and the other one, it was pretty ugly.
Yes, sir. So now we're going to talk about our interventions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris. I'm a behavior specialist that supports all 10 middle schools. And briefly, I wanted to talk about the intervention and consequences that we've implemented in the district, how we responded to House Bill 114, and how we implemented disciplinary consequences and provided support to our students. So as everyone is well aware, there was a new bill that came down, went into law that required mandatory disciplinary alternative education program assignments for possession of any vape product, whether it be tobacco, THC, or any of the devices itself. Humble ISD, like many other districts, wanted to create a way to honor the spirit of the law while also not overwhelming our DAEP system and keeping the kids on campus as much as possible. We believe that the kids benefit by being on their home campus and in the classroom rather than being in a mandatory alternative program. So what we came up with, we allowed the campuses to create a discipline system with the support of our assistant superintendents that gave them consequences on the campus, but we also provided them with an instructional program that increased in intensity depending on the number of times they had an offense. Now, to honor the long-standing law that's been in place, anyone that vapes THC or is caught with any THC products are required to attend DAEP. And of course, we have our substance abuse counselor, Ms. Kim, back there, that they can refer to if the students show a greater need. And any campus can make a referral. So our intervention process is a 3-tiered model, like many of the things that we do. Counseling Behavior Services, our department, provided the secondary campus, like Amber was talking about, with a Tier 1 program that's meant for every student. These are lessons. We gave the campuses the autonomy to implement them and teach them whenever they want and however they want. We created this awesome website that made it very simple for them to get on there, and it had lesson plans, it had videos. All the teachers really had to do was read it and go through it. And then we had our community outreach that Amber talked about We had 2 great events. I was really excited about this past one. We had a great turnout. We always want more, of course, to spread awareness. And as far as Tier 2, anybody who is caught with vaping-related offenses are given these disciplinary consequences that I spoke about and required to complete either modules. There was through a company called Everfi. They have these extensive modules that educate the student on the dangers of vaping, how they're targeted by the marketing, and what the future holds for them if they become addicted to these products. If they're caught again, there is a written assignment that they must do after reading and listening to stories from different students who have gone through the path of being addicted to these vapes and the outcomes, the negative outcomes that they faced. And then if they're caught again, we support them through a guided plan to quit. This is all online. We trained all of the campuses on this. I actually did an 8-hour Zoom with every campus representative or different campus representatives to teach them how to use this. We created folders for every single campus so that they could easily access this. And then we went to the campuses to support ISS teachers and other relevant people that would implement this. And then, of course, if an individual student is showing a greater need, then we have our substance abuse counselor, and students at DAP also receive support. So this is kind of a one-pager that shows everything that we've been trying to do to intervene and protect our students from these companies who have invaded our community and purposely targeted our students. And this is just the beginning. This is a framework, and we're just laying the ground. We've already had a lot of discussions about what's next. How do we engage the community? How do we engage our partners in the community, like HEB or whoever else that does a lot of community outreach to bring awareness to this problem? The fact is, these companies come into this community or communities like this that have a lot of kids on purpose. You have vaping shops within 2 miles of every high school in this community, and that's on purpose. And so we definitely want to bring awareness to the community, but we also need help from the community, from the board, to put pressure on these city council members, whoever else that can make some moves to help protect us. Where I live, Sugar Land, I'm sure you heard, their city council actually just banned any new vape shop from being opened in that community. It just happened. So it's possible, but we definitely need more awareness and we need more assistance from the community. Okay.
So as far as the data so far collected this year, in order for me to begin working with the student, first the counselors or the administrative staff identifies that the student needs assistance. And then it's referred to the counselor, who will then obtain verbal consent from the parent. So before I can even speak with the parent, I have to have permission to reach out to them regarding their child. Once I speak with them, I kind of collaborate with them on what's been going on, and I have to get written consent from them. So we can do that either electronically, where I will email them the consent, or I also have a hard copy for those who don't like to do the electronic piece, where they can sign the consent. So once that's done, then I can begin working with the student. So even though I may receive a referral, at any moment the parent can withdraw consent and say, no, I don't want you to work with my student anymore. Or they may go through the referral process, and then when we speak, they may say, I decided, we'll hold off. So that's how I begin to work with most of the students. And here's a little bit of data. So this is basically my substance abuse referrals received for the school year 23-24 from the 5th graders to the 12th graders. And the majority percentage basically was kind of my 10th graders. Frequency of usage. So this goes from either being abstinent down to never. So majority of the students were reporting daily use. And we had the next step of it was occasional. So once a month, once every so often. But the goal is ultimately to get them to the abstinence goal. So as far as stages of change, so it's in a good place for that piece because a lot of the majority is in maintenance. So maintenance basically means they may have started off smoking, but right now they're at the point where they are not smoking. And this is just the data for the students that I'm actively working with. Contemplation basically means I know that it's wrong and I'm working towards it, so that's my next highest number. And the top 3 substances reported are marijuana with and without the vape, alcohol, and the nicotine vapes. So these are all student-reported usages. And that is our data. Thank you for having us. Yes. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. To this one or the one before? Okay. Okay.
I know we're talking about vaping, but I'm curious, maybe the principals can answer this too. How many kids do you see using Zins? They've got to be. Zins?
Kim, you might want to go up and answer this too. You've talked about Zins before, and you can explain to the community what Zins are and what the kids are using them for? Thank you.
Yeah.
So Zen is it looks like an Altoid, but it's actually a nicotine patch. And so they basically will put it on their tongue or they put it under their tongue, and it gives them that sensation of, I'm not smoking a cigarette, but they still get that same stimulation, and they're highly addictive. So they come in a little tin, but with the Zen, it's kind of like you actually have to know what you're looking for, or you'll have to see the pack to actually tell the difference. So far, I haven't had any student report Zen usage to me, but I do know that it's out there.
Yeah, I just one of the principals.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to see it. Mr. Buck's coming up.
Yes. We have not seen that at Timberwood. We actually see the vapes. So we have a lot of things in place to prevent that. In fact, our student council, I'm very proud, I want to share that they went last weekend or weekend before to Stephen F. Austin for the anti-vaping summit. And they met with me yesterday, and they're very excited about sharing a little bit more, and they're concerned about more about what happens in the summer for our students. So to answer your question, no, we have not seen this.
Thank you.
Mr. Holmes has some questions. Marcus, go ahead.
Yes, sure. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. I think.
All right. So how many students have went to DAEP starting from, let's just say 2022, 2023, and I know we're still, of course, in the school year for 2024, but how many kids have actually went to DAEP?
So, Mr. Holmes, we last year for vaping specifically, the state did not require us to keep an individual code for vaping, so it was dropped into what's called a PEMS Code 21 POP, which is a prohibited item. And so last year we don't have individual data without going through every single discipline incident and looking in the description to determine, whether a vape written into the description of the discipline referral. So this year the state came out with codes that to help us track that we are mandatory required to code things into a code 62 or a code 63. Code 62 is anything THC, so that would include weed in a bag. It would include a THC cartridge. And so if a student's caught with a vape with a THC cartridge inside the vape, instead of that being a code 63, which is vaping, it's coded as mandatory required to be coded as code 62 under THC. And then there is, we developed a chart for you to show our incidents so far this particular school year, because we can pull the data from this school year to show the number of vaping incidences along with the THC. So as you'll see on the chart there, our code 62 is anything THC. A code 63 is any piece of a vape itself. And so they are coded a little differently. So as you notice up there, the total incidences by code 62, 359. Some of those are, the student had just a cartridge at THC on them. They could have had the old school weed in a bag on them as well. And so of that 359, that doesn't signify that every one of those 359 are an actual vape with a THC cartridge in it. But on the right-hand side, the code 63, those are true vapes that may have had a nicotine cartridge or a cartridge that our administrators just weren't able to tell if it was nicotine or THC, or it could have been a piece to a vape, a charger for a vape. Any of those things are required to be coded as a code 63. So as far as DAP this year, without going and pulling that specific data, I would say it's probably in the single digits that we've sent to DAP based on the secondary vaping guidelines and consequences that we had provided the board earlier in the year when we did the DOI for that. It's a tiered approach, and on the fourth offense is when it would be a DAP recommendation for us.
But all the, I'm sorry, but all the THC folks are automatic?
It's automatic, that's
So I
correct.
just want to clarify that.
Ms. Dixon and Mr. Holmes, I'm going to, you can let me know if you want to have other questions about Ms. Dixon, and then Mr. Grabowski. Mr. Kirchhoffer, you wanted to also?
Yes, thanks.
I just had a quick question on PEMS Code 62. It says was under the influence of. So that is that based on noticing physical impairment? Because we're not allowed to test, is that correct, for THC? Or can we?
That's correct. If a student is under the influence of something, or maybe a student admitted to us that, I just got through smoking a THC vape or something, all those would be coded under that code 62. Anything that involves THC where the student admitted it, we found it, we suspected it, would all be coded under 62.
Okay, and so, but if a student has it, we're not allowed, are we, to test them for THC? Is that correct?
No.
To see if they have it in their system?
Not that I'm aware
Okay.
of, no ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Grabowski?
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you to the speakers who came forward, our guest speakers, and to the presentation. It's very, very educational. It once again shows you that quality marketing is basically unbeatable, especially against teenagers. They are a very vulnerable group. See, the same thing what I do with my work, moving airplanes around. People use wet towels over the in the bathrooms to cover the detectors, hair nets. They'll take a photo of the detector. They know what we carry on the airplane. You can get a vape, go to a vape store, and the particulates from that vape will not be detected by the detector. It is a science. It is unbeatable almost at this stage how good these kids are being preyed upon by the vape industry. And I gotta believe the vape will bring a stronger drug into that child's life, and they're going down the path of ruin. And we really need to come up with a solution. So you showed a lot of data, and this is where I wanted to go with this. The intervention that we have without DAEP, the kids have figured out it means little to no consequence. They can do this behavior over and over and over. Yes, the numbers may not look good, but we have got to stamp this out. We're going to lose these kids shortly after high school. They're going to stronger drugs. I battled it with my son, but he came around, thank God. This is a very serious topic. You know, last night was Spirit Night at Crust Pizza for Bear Branch Elementary. My beautiful bride is a teacher there. And we were out in the parking lot, myself and about 5 teachers, and this was the topic. And they have the solution too, and I believe this is the solution, because the solution was not talked about here, other than it was a lot of awareness in what we do. So I get to speak for them. Why does the staff, leaving the teachers out of it, the teachers and the kids are not part of this way. The teachers teach the kids. Why does the staff and the law enforcement that we have on campus not patrol the bathrooms? Why do they not go in and clean out the bathrooms this afternoon and at least let the kids know they're on notice? Give them a warning, whatever you want. Chief Cook has an amazing police force. They're on our middle school. They're on our high school campuses. They can patrol them along with the staff so the teachers don't have to get involved with the children they want to teach. Why is that not a good solution, Madam Superintendent? I don't understand.
Well, I'd be happy to have any of our high school principals who want to talk about bathroom patrols or, because every campus handles, how they're going to monitor bathrooms on their own. And then I don't know if Assistant Chief wants to talk about what you're able to do and not able to do regarding vaping, but.
Or being in the bathroom specifically, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Wes Solomon, principal of Kingwood Park. So everything is a process that we go through, and so I can speak on behalf of our campus. We've got about 20 bathrooms that are open regularly. You got about 2,000 kids and about 250 staff members. Typically what we do is between class transition. That's when you traditionally see kids in and out. You can see anywhere from probably 10 kids to all the way up to maybe 50 or 60 in a 5-minute period. How we handle it at K Park is we start from the very beginning with an expectation assembly. Where we've changed a little bit is these kids are good, they're fast, as you can see the products that are out there. We have tools that we use that are readily available. So we have detectors and sensors that go off when they experience a vape sensor in the bathroom that sends us a text message and sends us an email. On my staff, that's 6 of us. So there's 20 bathrooms, there's 6 of us. So that's one tool that we use. Typically, when one of those goes off, if we approach the bathroom, these kids are so good that it's already gone. Okay, they've already hit it, they flushed it down the commode, they've thrown it in a bathroom, or they've exited the bathroom with other people. We're very strict about, and we follow, if we walk into a bathroom and there's a group of kids that are in a stall, if there's a group of kids that are huddled around, we are going to hold all those kids accountable for that. Because it is very laborious intensive to figure out who vaped, especially when there's 6 or 7 or 8 of them. Another thing we do is we strategically put our teachers near the bathrooms, not because I agree with you, teachers are there to teach, but adult presence limits behavior. And so a lot of our coaches fall on that sword. They're very passionate about it, and they're athletes, and they have relationships with athletes. So that's another tool that we use that we find that's effective for us, that placing adults near bathrooms helps. Another thing we do is we have great relationships with our kids. There are a lot of good kids that will walk by and tell us, hey, there's kids in there vaping right now. That's probably the single best thing. The other thing that's huge for us is the I help tip. A lot of kids will use that to let us know. Sheer numbers, it's just very, very difficult to station people in the bathrooms all the time. But we do the best we can to monitor and bring adult presence for that. The other thing is we also have an expectation assembly in January, kind of a reset that we do to let people know, let our students know what that is. Other than that, it's just a constant battle of walking in, walking out. You've got 6 administrators and you've got 20 bathrooms in a 5-minute period. I think the stats would tell us that typically it's transition. That's when it is. That's when you see the sheer volume and the most number of things that kids use. But they're so quick. And I think the biggest problem, Dr. Manning and I talked about this last week, our maintenance department, they went in there and found just 10s and 20 vapes flushed in the sewer pipes that were backing up bathrooms. So the minute you walk in, that's what happens a lot of times as well.
Mr. Solomon?
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Solomon?
Mr. Grabowski?
As a high school principal, because it peaks in high school, obviously, it's very little K-5, somewhat in middle, but your Panther school there, it has quite a few. I mean, we're trying to find a solution. How can we as a board, how can we as a community help you as a principal to stop this behavior from happening? And maybe you don't have that answer now, and I don't want to put you on the spot that way, but if you can get together with the other principals, email, phone calls, however you all communicate, we would love to help you. I want to save these kids because this is a real danger in their future life. If they go down this road as a freshman or a sophomore, and THC today, I never smoked dope. In the military, and the fines were too great. It was a great deterrent. But the THC today It's purposely addictive it's a gateway drug to a reckoning of your life, a ruining of your life. If there's something you all can come up with, please email me or email the president or somebody. We would love to help you stop this problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Solomon, I just wanted to ask you your opinion. Have the products surpassed our detection capabilities? And the reason I say that, I've spoken to a lot of students, high school students, in the last 2 months, and I did at the awareness one, there was a lot of them. And I said, because I asked them, I said, is it going on? Oh, yeah, lots of kids are vaping. I said, well, don't the detectors give out the alarm? And they said, no, they don't seem to work. And again, this is just casual conversation, if you will, and I don't know the answer if that's really true. Are you finding that our devices have been surpassed? Do we need to do something different in terms of detection, just at your campus?
Yeah, so no, I think the detectors are a tool, and they're a tool that we use. So I think it would be incorrect for the students to say that they don't work. They do make a little bit of a noise. Do they try to get away with it and try to do, yeah, I mean, that's cat and mouse game of high schools for years. But I wouldn't say good or bad. I would just say they're another tool that we use that helps us. But the bottom line is the best thing that helps us is the relationships with kids. And those kids tell us, and we're able to do that.
And I will add that Kim Hopkins, our substance abuse counselor, has done extensive research on this. And Mr. Grabowski, to your point, that's absolutely correct. There are, the companies are evolving. They are developing. If you look at the first evolution of vapes, we all saw the cloud that goes across the entire room. You barely see a puff anymore on some of these, and they're designed that way. As you mentioned, Mr. Grabowski, it's real easy to put a wet towel around something to try to get away from the detectors as well. The kids are very very innovative at trying to find ways to avoid the detectors, and then the science of the companies developing the products is more and more designed to be undetectable as well.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to add. Students that I've talked to that were in high school basically said that they can outsmart the detector, right? They can either swallow the smoke if they know that someone's coming, or if they're in the bathroom, or they blow it into their sweatshirt so that it does not allow the alarm, the detector to go off. So, like you said, students are savvy. They're trying to find ways around it. So we have to use as many tools as possible to try to approach it.
Mrs. Parker, and then Mr. Kirchhoffer. Sorry.
And this may be a Chief Cook question, but what do you guys think about particularly if the cartridge is THC, giving a ticket for drug paraphernalia and having the student go with their parents to the justice of the peace or something like that?
Good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, when the legislation passed House Bill 114, it gave the school district administrators the teeth that they need to try to defeat this problem we're having with vaping. They did nothing for law enforcement. And as far as the THC, the vaping, there's nothing that we are able to do law enforcement wise unless we find something that has become crossed the line to a criminal offense. Even with marijuana charges, the district attorney's office does not take those charges. And, excuse me, and unfortunately, it's become socially acceptable for a lot of people to use marijuana now. And a lot of the problems we have, and it begins at home. If we could get the families to work with us to defeat this problem, I think that's the only way we're going to be able to defeat it, is through a partnership with the school districts and the families to help support what we need to do for the kids.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Kirchhoffer?
Mr. Solomon, first of all, Ty and Melissa and your team, thank you. And thanks for the principals being here. Tell me, Mr. Solomon, so when you look back a year ago to today, progress?
I mean, I don't know about numbers-wise progress, because as Mr. Perkins said, the numbers, we didn't chart them, so we chart them now. So I don't think I'd be able to give
That's
you
all
an
right.
educational answer on that. It's kind of an ebb and flow thing. I think we've made progress in the consequences we've placed on kids. I think we've made progress on, we're not seeing nicotine as much. I mean, I think some people thought it's mostly nicotine vapes. We don't see those as much. It's mostly THC.
But you as the captain of the ship at K Park, right? It sounds like you're working and developing great relationships with the kids. So it, as you know, it brings out the awareness. And if they're working for you, it slows it down. Then the communication's better. You're never going to stop it, as we all know. The vaping's now, so it'll be something else in a couple years. But do we feel like the punishment is enough? When you look at that, you've got, what, 3 levels? 3 levels of punishment, Terry?
Yeah.
Or is it 4?
Yes, sir, we have a first offense category, a second offense category, a third, and a fourth offense category.
Compare that to somebody just got smoking pot, not vaping, just had a joint.
It'd be an automatic DAP placement because it was THC.
Yeah. A cigarette, what's the punishment?
It's a prohibited item, and it would fall under something very similar to what we
Copenhagen,
have
same
here.
thing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be as many days of ISS as we have for the vapings on the first offense, because we do send them to in-school suspension on the first offense. And that's part of 114 also says that, and it was a concern for a lot of districts around the state in regards to overcrowding their DAP. So our DAP program is reserved for our most serious and violent and most disruptive offenders. And we have about 150 is where we're at with a max capacity at our DAP. We hit that number in late October. So the intent of 114 also says that if your DAP is overcrowded, you'd be able to take those kids and send them back to their home campus, and they would serve their time in ISS, which is exactly what we do on every single offense. So for us, when our DAP reaches max capacity in late October, early November, every kid that, if we were doing DAP for every single offense for a vape, we would just, in October, we'd be sending them back to the campus to serve the ISS, which is what we have them serving right now, along with the other programs that we have in place to try to help them understand how bad vaping actually is for them.
And I want to add, when you speak about progress, this is our first year to have a substance abuse counselor. That's where we are starting to see some progress with the work Kim has done and the anecdotal stories she's able to share with us, and the progress she's making with counseling students, because this is an addiction, and they need that counseling to break that addiction cycle, and that's where we have started to see some progress this year, is her work with them.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic. I mean, when I say discipline, we have to be careful, right? Because we alter our lives. So middle school, high school, kid gets caught vaping, he's got something else in there instead of nicotine. I hate altering that thought of, we're outside looking in, you guys run the show, but, to alter their lives, just like the fighting, kid gets punched in the face, and then if he hits back, he's in trouble, with this, I mean, the work that you've all done to bring it to us, I know it's a work in progress. I don't want to come across as we need to hammer the kids. We want to love on the kids, right? And develop relationships with them, because they're our biggest advocates in the school. But thanking the principals for being here too.
And Mr. Kirchhoff, I want to just add, because I think Mr. Grass makes a really good point. I think people are wanting to know what we are doing as an administrative team to proactively and monitor and hold kids accountable for vaping in our schools, right? And you heard, and I'm very thankful for Mr. Solomon to step up and be willing to talk about what they do at K Park, having worked with all of our principals, middle school and high school. There's a plan on every campus during every transition. There are adults out all throughout the building. When you get 3,000 kids, 4,000 kids. Adults can only be so many places. You can walk in a restroom and nothing's happening, and walk out, and 3 minutes later, there's 15 people vaping in the restroom, right? So it's this, I want people to, I want our community to understand, I want the board to understand that we know this is a serious problem in our schools. And we are doing everything that we can do with personnel that we have on campuses. One fear we have, and we've had not only teachers, but administrators come back and say, if you're asking me to go stand in the restroom and watch kids go to the bathroom, I'm going to struggle with that. Because in the world of the time we're in right now, if I'm watching you go to the restroom and you turn around and say, why are you watching me go to the restroom? Now we have a problem on our hands. So we're putting adults in even greater, where they get accused of, you are watching me go to the restroom. You make me uncomfortable watching me go to the restroom. There's a fine line between going in those restrooms and monitoring and then coming back out. We just are in unparalleled times as it relates to the devices these kids are using. The smoke is gone. I mean, you used to could go in the restroom, open the door up, and it's coming out. That's over with. It has gotten to such an art that you can get down there, you can walk through, you literally have no idea. And then, as Mr. Solomon said, they're even specific there. If a kid is in the stall or a kid is in the restroom or at a whatever, individual urinal, they're not going to bother that kid when they walk in there. It's those kids that are just standing there, and they'll get all of them. They'll get 6. I've watched Kingwood Park walk 8 people, 9 people out of a restroom at a time. An hour later, after trying to go through, you very rarely find anything on them because it's gone, right? So I appreciate the fact that we're doing the awareness. I think awareness is key, but I want everybody to understand that there is active monitoring going on every day. And to think that we've just thrown our hands up in the school and say, you know what, just let them vape, that is not the case. And I don't want there to be any, and I'm not saying it's coming from you guys, I think this is a very timely conversation, but our administrators and our staffs, they're doing everything they can do based on just the limited number of adults that are on a campus where you can actually monitor and supervise. So we are open. We have conversations. We meet regularly, and we'll challenge the principals. If there's something that they feel like we can help bring something to them, they're not shy about doing it because they understand the magnitude of it. So I wanted to make sure our principals understand that they're supported in the work they're doing. I don't want them to be here today to feel like, man, we got grilled and, we're not doing enough. They know. So goes the principal, so goes the building. They take all of that very, very personally, and I, for one, thank them for being off campus today to be here to share their story. So I just wanted to make sure we are open to partnering with everyone in this process.
And I thank you for that, sir, very much.
Mr.
And
Grassley,
I'm sorry.
Please, you want to speak, but I got somebody ahead of you.
I thought he was stressing.
And Mr. Kramer, just to your point, I hope you understand, nobody sitting up here, Mr. Holmes is virtual, is trying to point fingers. And as Mr. Grassley said earlier, you guys keep coming, and to Dr. Fagan, let us know what other resources, whatever we can try to wring out to do, because I think you guys this is a tough battle, and you guys are doing, I know you're very aware, and you're doing everything humanly possible, and you're continuing to evolve that, so we applaud your efforts, and want you to know we support you 100%, and nobody here is saying, oh, you're not doing your job or you don't care. Please.
And I appreciate that because I think that's not my intent. I think that what I'm saying is from the community perspective. I don't want our parents and our community. I think you guys y'all are very much aware of how what's going on, right, as it relates to that. Many of you have kids in the system. Many of your kids come home and share those stories, right? I think it's our general community when they see this or whatever the case might be. I want everybody to know that we are all working to do everything we can do to find solutions for this. it is just ahead of where we're at right now physically with what we can do within the confines of the system. Because if there was something I think that we could have done, we would have already done it. Right now, we can talk about discipline consequences. We can talk about those things. I think the reality is when these kids get addicted like this, you can send them to ISS, you can send them to DAEP, you can send them to jail. They're going to come right back out. And if they're vaping or they're smoking, they're hooked on drugs, that's going to continue to happen. So I'm glad we're having the conversation, and I appreciate the feedback you guys are giving so we can continue to tackle this.
Okay. Mr. Holmes and then Mr. Grabowski.
Sure. So again, Mr. Kramer, thanks for providing that additional context. I think you're spot on. Also to the administrative team, the counselors, Dr. Lee, Mrs. Hobbs, I understand everything that is being said. And again, I appreciate the context. I think for me, what I want to ask, being that me and Mrs. Parker and Mrs. Lamont Dixon are on the advocacy committee, do you have enough resources to even tackle this? You almost want to call it an epidemic, right? Do we have enough resources? Because I get it, we can't have teachers monitoring bathrooms. Do we have enough law enforcement to even go that route? Because again, it provides us a very weird dynamic that it creates a whole nother issue. How do we handle it? I don't know. But we're the voice back to, the state legislature. We can meet with, those officials. I just need to know, do we even have enough? I would love to hear from you. Do we have enough substance abuse counselors? So for me, I would love to see the data, and I don't know if you have it right now, but maybe the next advocacy meeting, I'd love to see how many kids from each campus, from our 3 high schools, right? From AHS, Kingwood, Humboldt, Summer Creek, have been seen by a substance abuse counselor versus the number of discipline referrals received by that campus regarding vaping. I want to be able to get a baseline so we see if it's getting better, if it's getting worse, if it's stat. I just want to be able to see what we can do to help. And if we need to go back and start asking for, again, additional funds for more counselors, that's fine. Or if it needs to be on a per campus basis, I just want to know how we can help.
Dr. Fagan, would you mind stepping in?
Thank you. So I appreciate the work the Advocacy Committee has already done, where they're already talking with Representative Charles Cunningham and others about what the legislature can do to support all schools and school districts in Texas. That is very appropriate governance work to try to change the laws around the distance to a high school that a vape shop can open. Certainly, we want to make it as difficult as possible for kids to get those devices. And that is the work of the board, is to work with other elected officials at a governance level and try to pass laws that will support our campuses better. The truth of the matter is, and we all know this, is the DA's office is very overwhelmed and has been since the pandemic. And so it has tied the hands of law enforcement to actually make a dent in any kind of ticketing, et cetera. So I applaud our counseling department for having Kim and going down this root cause analysis sort of process, where at the end of the day, we all know this is an addiction that's marketed to kids. They don't understand the gravity of it. So having Kim and having her work with the entire family, which behavioral health experts have told us that it's a family issue. It can't just be a school issue, kind of what Chief Cook mentioned. And so, we used our ESSER dollars to do these types of things and to see if it would indeed make a difference. We believe it is making a difference. If you saw the number of students that work with Kim that are on maintenance, that's a good news piece. So I appreciate that, Mr. Holmes. And as we go forward into the future with, budgets and those kind of things, to make sure that we're working with Ty Hobbs, Melissa Lee, to make sure that Kim does have the support she needs to reach the students that are willing to work with her. So I think that's important, but I would just like to sort of punctuate the advocacy committee and anything that you all can do. We were all joking about, but not really joking about, the just say no. Billy was talking about, this is your brain on drugs, this is your, those kind of things really need to be taken on at a state level, and a statewide campaign about, what vaping is and what it's not, because kids really do think it's the healthier side of cigarettes because there's no tar, there's no tobacco. And so to take that on at the state level and even the federal level through the advocacy committee, I'm a big fan of that, plus any other legislation we can pass to make it more difficult for students to get vapes.
Mr. Grabowski, then Ms. Dixon?
Mr. Solomon, sorry, sir. Would it be a good idea or a bad idea? I've been an advocate for Iron Men, some call it watchdog dads, after they go through a background check. If we had fathers from your school that have students at that school, that you would map out the times you would want them there, and just, because it seems to be adult presence is a good deterrent. It's not a perfect deterrent, but it's a good deterrent. That they would stand by the bathrooms, perhaps not go in the bathrooms, but we had an influx of dads at certain times of the day to be a deterrent effect. Do you think that would help you out as a principal?
I'm gonna say yes and no. I'm huge on alignment, and as Mr. Kirchhoffer said, I am kind of the one responsible for Kingwood Park High School, so I take that very seriously, and so everybody that's in the building, it's on my watch. And so I don't want to say I'm against it, but at the same time, I hire everybody. I'm in every single interview because ultimately I'm responsible. And so I'm not against bringing people on the outside, but I think there would need to be a lot of discussions about, what their background is. Everybody in our building knows our purpose, our vision, while we're there. I'm huge on alignment. And so that would be my only hesitation, is to who are these people? What are their backgrounds? What are their motives? What are their relationships with kids? Do they know people? Do they not know people inside the building? I will say another thing that has really helped us about being proactive is we always leverage extracurricular activities. And athletics, fine arts, CTE, clubs, organizations, honor societies, we're all on the same page on this. So the kids know, and at my school in particular, a huge percentage of my population participates in many things. And so not only is it just about the ISS and the OSS and the awareness, it's also about, if I do this, it will impact me in football or theater or dance. And that might be down the road. And so hats off to all those departments that we've aligned together to get a bigger bang for our buck, that the decision you make, it's not just about school consequences, it's about your extracurricular activities as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Dixon?
So first, I would like to thank Ms. Parker for her leadership in bringing the advocacy committee together to talk about anti-vaping, and also setting up the conversations that we have had with elected officials. And from a governance perspective, I wanted to say, I'll be in Austin tomorrow to do legislative work for the state. And that this is one of those conversations, and the discussion from a board perspective really will center around legislation, hopeful legislation in the future about keeping vape shops away from schools. And if there are any other thoughts from a governance perspective from the board that you would like me to address outside of that piece, I'm happy to do that if you want to shoot me an email by tomorrow. I'm happy to continue that conversation. And I know as a committee, we will definitely continue those conversations as well.
Thank you. Okay, any other, Mr. Kirchhoffer or
Yeah.
Ms. Parker?
I know we're running up 9 o'clock, but I'd like to hear from Summer Creek. Just, from K Park to Summer Creek, it's two different worlds.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Matthew Manny. I'm the principal of Summer Creek. A lot of the things that Mr. Solomon mentioned did a great job of covering what we do as well. We've got upwards of 3,800 students, so on any given day, we have over 4,000 people under our roof. We have 25 to 30 bathrooms to cover. And so we have a plan, as Mr. Kramer mentioned, where those are monitored during all passing periods, during all arrivals, during all dismissals, and then we sweep them after every transition period.
So we make sure that they're cleared out, as we start the class period. I don't know if you're familiar with the layout of our building, but all of our bathrooms are directly behind our admin offices, and so they're easily accessible for us. Then also in the new additions, thank you, by the way, to our building, we placed admin offices directly across from those bathrooms as well. So proximity is key, and just making sure that we have a plan for how those are swept and covered. We have duty stations across the building, so we have a map. At the beginning of the year, we lay out the map on the table, make sure we've got them all covered. Teachers are at those only during arrival and dismissal, right, because they have to teach, and then all other times of the day, it's admin. So as far as like coverage goes for those areas, just to answer your initial question there, Mr. Grabowski, that's how we tackle it. A lot of the tools that we use are the ones that Mr. Solomon mentioned. So our kids are key. So I'll have a kid might come up to me and say, "Hey, you need to check that bathroom," right? So we actively walk in the bathroom all day, any time of the day. So what I like to tell my staff members is, if you don't feel comfortable going in that bathroom, that's a problem, right? As far as like using it. So we go, you walk in there, check it, wash your hands or something, come on out, right? Just make yourself present so the kids know it's not I don't want to say protected space, but it's not a space where we're not going to show up, right? That we're not going to walk in. So that's part of it as well. So that's as far as coverage goes. That's how we tackle it. And as far as knowledge goes, iHelp is always key. We have kids who use that every day, and they're very helpful in what they see. They'll post pictures maybe that they see in the restroom or something they got from a friend, and that's a tool that we use as well. Did that answer your question, Mr. Kirchhoffer?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Can I, Mr. Kramer, how many high schools have we removed the doors from the restrooms? I noticed when I was at Toscita that the doors were missing. I don't know if it's every restroom, every high school.
It just depends on the door, number one, the sight line, and if they are required. Some of them, depending on the age of the building, the fire-rated system, right? So it all depends, right? We tried everything. We've taken doors off. We've put windows in. I mean, it's almost, you just like, you're kidding me, right? We're taking doors off. No, we've tried. So I can get you the statistical information. I know like Humboldt High School, some of the older buildings have more flexibility to take doors off, but again, we fire marshal comes rolling around. They're like, where's the fire rated door? Why is this? So there's also, we're also playing those regulations. But Dr. Manny, I know y'all have some off. I know Wes, y'all.
Yeah, so we were very strategic in that, so we removed the doors on the bathrooms behind our admin office, right? Because we monitor those constantly. We put fire-rated doors because we had to retroactively retrofit to meet fire marshal code, which I wasn't even aware was a thing with a door until we had to do that, on bathrooms that are not near admin offices, so that we're able to funnel traffic to bathrooms during certain times of the day where we are most present. And so that's part of the plan too, just to make sure that we are always close to it, just for this particular problem and that particular presence. So that would be 16 doors that we removed, to answer your question. And then the other ones have doors out of the 26 that we have in the building.
And some doors are able to be locked, some are not. That's been successful and not because, I'll get an email from a parent, my child needed to go to the restroom and it was locked, and the next one that was near, right? So then it puts kids, we don't ever want to put kids at a disadvantage. We want kids to be able to go to the restroom at any point in time. But I think this just shows the length of what we've attempted to do, locking them, keeping them unlocked, locking them during certain periods of the day, trying to funnel traffic. So I think you're getting a great idea, and I'm glad, they're here to speak to that because that's what they do. They literally know the layouts of their building, and they know we had a restroom. We know at Kingwood High School, there's a restroom over there, and that swim, it's like, let's just close it up, right? But at the end of the day, we can't do it, right? So every campus has a few spots where it's based on the location, it's very hard to monitor it, and the kids know it. And so we know that too. So we're playing games there with literally, no pun intended, smoke and mirrors and trying to figure it out. So anything else?
I think, Mr. Kramer, too, you wanted to talk?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, your point earlier was very well taken, that you can't have an adult standing in a restroom watching kids use the facility. You absolutely can't do that. I get it, because you don't want to put people at risk because,
We've had it
God
happen.
forbid.
And
I know.
And kids turn around, and then
Right.
it turns in, you take a very small situation, a kid takes offense to it, then they
Right.
use offensive language, and now we've turned a very minor situation to where we're literally, based on our decision to place adult in there, we might go to a situation where we're giving consequences that had we not done that, that kid might still be on campus, but that kid chose to make poor decisions, and now we're having to deal with it.
Yeah, I get it. But I will echo what said, I think you had to give some serious thought about, because I know they do at the middle schools with the dads who help to patrol. It just might be additional resources. And you're right, it needs to, Mr. Solomon, your point's well taken too. It needs to be very well thought out as to what happens. But it's something I think you ought to give some thought to. And maybe, Mr. Brodron, as far as the middle schools, I know it's worked in some of those middle schools. And for
Yeah,
other things too,
excuse me.
just behavior.
We've implemented the Watchdog program, if you will, our Iron Men program at several middle schools. In fact, Ken most recently, you want to step up, Ken? He most recently implemented it at Timberwood, so I think he could speak a little bit to how that's worked for him.
I do have 30 dads that are trained, and what that means when they're trained, they come in and meet with me and also my assistant principal, go over safety expectations. That expectation is more about being just a positive presence, fist bumping, and I tell them, I said, do not go into restrooms. If you need to go to the restroom, you go to the staff restroom. But what I have heard from staff is that it's a lot calmer, because once the bell rings, then they walk the halls. They're picking up trash, they're talking to kids. And so it's a really good system. But yeah, you're right. You gotta make sure you know who's coming into the building. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there. It's really something we ought to be exploring at the high school level. So, okay, thanks. Dr. Fagan.
I just wanted to say one thing. I hope that what the board got to see today is that the way that Humble ISD leadership approaches something is an all hands on deck. You've seen the counseling program. The operations program isn't here, but they have done the work on door removals and putting windows in doors and all of that. The technology put in vape detectors years ago before we were even talking about, it was 4 years ago, I think. And so this has been the police department. I mean, this has been an all hands on deck, and this is how we approach anything in Humble ISD that is a challenge, is we all pitch in from our area of expertise and do what we can do. And so I'm really proud of the principals who are here. I'm really proud of our counseling department, technology department, operations, all of them, for coming together on this issue and really brainstorming every single thing we can do and working to make this as positive as possible. I have a daughter that just graduated last year, have a daughter that's currently in a middle school, and so I get that parental feedback all the time, just like every other parent, and we all do. There's many of us that have children in the district, and we all bring that to the table too. So I just want to say, before it gets away from me, thank you to everybody here, because you all have showcased the quality of this team and the way that you approach some really difficult national problems. And it gives me a lot of positive feelings as a parent, but even more so as a superintendent. So I want to say thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr.
Grabowski?
May I add something, please?
Yes.
Real quick? Okay. Thank you. With the support of Dr. Fagan and the board, I have been, for the past several years, the Houston Area Police Chief's representative to the Texas Police Chiefs Executive Board. And as a member of the executive board, one of the things that we're trying to push for is stronger legislation with vaping, with the retail side, because hopefully with that, we can partnership with other law enforcement agencies, and that can be another working mechanism to help defeat the problem that we're having. I just wanted to add that and say thank you for the support that you give me to do that.
You're welcome, Chief. Thank you for your comments. All right, last question, because we're 4 minutes over.
It's actually a statement, Mr. President.
okay.
A happy birthday to Mrs. Parker.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh, I can't say the number?
Yeah, 5-0, that's like you're a kid. You're a kid in my book, yeah. Okay, all right. So thank you guys very much for all the information, for all the effort. Really and truly, it's great. And I think, again, Mr. Kramer, your point about the community understanding. And I would reach out to the community. I'm saying it now, like, we're open to solutions, we're open to ideas. We don't have a lock on that, so please, I know some community members spoke this morning. I hope that will permeate back out, that, hey, help us. You know, this is our kids, your kids, grandkids, whatever. So we want to do that. Okay, with that, I am going to say the time is now 9:05 a.m. and our meeting is adjourned.